well last night, so let me know if I don't make sense. Yeah, you didn't sleep either. So let's do, so I'm going to do that. I want to go to into here and show you what the questions are. All right. Okay. So let's go. Is this the afternoon one? Nope, this is the morning one. So let's look at the test queries. And these are, there's not a lot of queries here, and we can do more. Mongo has a complete set of queries, tools that you can do. I mean, you can do aggregations, you can do, sums, averages, you can do all sorts of things. But I was just going to make it fairly simple just to give you a feeling for a question. So we want to find out what artists are considered as part of a genre. We want to see what fans follow those artists, what shows exist for those artists, and what are all the shows for a particular venue. So we'll try to do those queries. Now, as I said, I added a couple of records to the, to the database. So I'd have something, let me close that. So if we go to, actually, if we go just to the blog, so I'll go to real quickly. Actually, it's right over here, so it's right there. I just added this one, which we had done in the morning. Actually, did I add it to the afternoon one? I may have added it to the afternoon one. Oh, right. Well, I'll show you the queries anyway. Because I think if I refresh this, well, I added 2 more shows, but the structure I'm using is the one from the afternoon, not the morning one. So it's a slightly different structure. I think I have Deck the Hall Ball twice. So I think I screwed it up, but we'll work with it anyway. I'll fix it later. What? Yes. So what I did is I added a couple of other shows with venues, but they're not, it'll still work, but they're not as complete as what you guys did in class. The other thing is that there are 2 Deck the Hall Ball ones, which I would like to get rid of one, but we'll just ignore it for now. I told you I didn't get enough sleep. So what I did is I worked off the afternoon one instead of the morning one. Sorry. If you have, even if you've only got like the one record you had before, we can do these queries. What? No, this is on the blog. If you go to the syllabus and click on the blog, it'll go to here. But again, you don't have to use this. I'll just show you how to do the queries. It works better if you have your own data in there anyway. All right. So let's go back so we have this up. And then I'm going to actually minimize it for a minute because I need to open the MongoD, right? The MongoD is the server, and you need to start it. You can tell that it's working when it says waiting for connections. And then you do the Mongo. and it opens up the client. And again, this is the command line client, but in general, I find it easier to use than the Compass. If you want to try it in the Compass, you can. But it's a little bit weirder in the Compass. So if we look at our questions, we want to choose a genre. So I'm going to just choose. So first of all, I'm going to use Show Tracker. Right? We want to make sure we're using the database that we set up. One thing is, if you did it like a capital T or something in there, you need to redo it, because otherwise, you know, it will just make a new database, and the data won't be in there. So I did mine all lowercase. I'm not sure what you guys did. One of the ways you can do it is I can do now just db.shows.find, and they're all there. The other thing, if you want them to look nicer, you can do db.shows.find.pretty, and I can lift that up if you can't see. I'll try anyway. So db shows.find, the dot pretty just makes it so it looks like this, right? It just makes it nicer to read. Takes up more screen, but it takes, you know. So we're in the right database. That's mostly what I was checking. Need parentheses. So when you look, let's go back up. Well, actually, I'll just run that. You need parentheses after find, and you need parentheses after fill. Because it won't stop. So let's do it. Well, actually, I was just trying to close the parentheses. I think as long as you have something to end it. Questions on just that? I mean, the find is what you do to get everything. It's the equivalent of select star from in SQL. Does that make sense? So our artists are with the shows. If we want to see just the genres for the shows, or for the artists. So what was the first question there? Not that. So we want to choose a genre and what artists are in that genre. So if we wanted to choose a genre, let's do, what genre do we want? We got folk and rock and alt. I'm just looking, alt rock, pop. All right. So if we did db find, and then what we want into here is we do our criteria. I'm going to show you a couple variations of this. So we want to know, we have artists as a object in here. So I'm going to do artists, and you might quote it, or if you want to quote it, you'll have to come. Now mine is frozen. Come on. Will it ever unfreeze? All right. I don't want that selected. I just want. All right, there's a dot there. Let's see what happens. Dot, no.
Is it artist or artist plural?
So it is artist. I was looking up here in show.
Oh, you did artist plural.
Yeah, so I'm going to do artist dot. If you did artist, do artist.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to do artist dot genre. And I'm going to do colon quotes pop or alt rock. And this is case sensitive, so if you typed it differently at different times. And then let's do show. Pretty, rather. So this is how you do a criteria. The next thing I'm going to do is, I'll show you after we do this, how to, oh, that didn't work. Syntax error. What am I missing? You are right. I did an up arrow. I'm going to go back. All right, and still missing. Something's missing.
Professor, I'm also having kind of a weird error. When I click on my Mongo database, it just kind of.
Did you run MongoDB? That is MongoDB. Is that the first time you've run it?
No, I used it before.
And you had the directories in there?
Yeah, I believe so.
That's usually why. Let's look at your and C drive. So, well, not desktop. Oops. Just PC, the C drive. You've got the DB. Open the DB thing. You should have bunches of stuff in there. Yeah. So why is it not running?
Yeah, when I click on it, it just.
It looks like there's something there.
Is that it? Maybe it's just.
I didn't even try.
Okay.
Oh, weird. So it's just like minimizing, so or it was minimized or something.
Might be. Maybe you should do Mongo.
Oh, really? I did with Mongo and it didn't. I was just use this one. I thought it was this one.
You need both running. You need the MongoD running as a server and then Mongo as a.
We need help back here.
Yeah, all right, I need to fix this.
Nothing's coming up.
Yeah, MongoD running as well. So, when you haven't said what it is that you're using. So, it's DB dot, yeah.
Do you feel like you need to redo it?
Yeah, it's not just DB. So it actually say use.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. Spaces are illegal generally.
Yeah.
So did you do the parentheses? Maybe it's this thing, I mean, maybe show, but you have to have a parentheses after fine too. If it's fine parentheses dot pretty parentheses. All right, let me see what the error is here. Does anybody see it? As I said, maybe I should quote the artist.genre.
So when the syntax error comes up, it says missing a colon after property ID.
Right, which is not accurate, so I don't know.
When I wrapped the first statement in parentheses or in quotes, it worked.
Yeah, I think that may be the issue. The error messages are sometimes way off, and I'm not sure why. It may be the dot in here. So genre belongs to the object artist, right? So inside of our show, we have an artist object. It's an object because it opens and closes a parenthesis. And inside of it, it has two values. It has name and genre. And genre is a thing. Let's see if it works with just quoting those. Yes, so it worked. But we're getting a lot more information than we really want, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're getting the entire show information, which could be useful, but yeah. So what I did, I just popped that out. I just had to quote this. It didn't like that it wasn't quoted. Is that big enough to see from back there? Okay. Could be bigger.
Why did you have to put shows? Why didn't you just put find, TV find?
Because it needs to know what collection to search. And so the DB is the database, it's show tracker. Shows is the collection, and find is just the function for that.
Okay.
If you don't tell it what collection to search, it doesn't
know where
yeah. So let me look under defaults. Font, wow. There's no font between 36 and 72. So, I mean, I can make this gigantic. How's that? It's going to make results hard to follow, but yeah.
It says I'm missing a bracket after the property list.
Yeah, that's, I didn't have you need a curly brace before the short braces. You have to remove this. Anybody else?
Right.
What?
Why did it bring back the price in the menu?
It brings back everything.
Oh,
So I'm going to show you, the next thing I want to show you is how to limit what you bring back.
okay.
Did I get it anything? Do you have all rock in there?
Lot of additional ones.
I know, but I mean, in your thing, you have all
I
rock.
did my list, homework list of all my action items, and I got it all sorted, just found pricing on it a while. But, I found.
But you can just copy and paste.
When you do DB shows, that shows fine.
I'm gonna try.
It's really easy stuff. All you have to do is just import.
When you say use shows, it should be use show tracker.
So is there no more revisions to listen to?
Yes,
Right, because that's not the database, that's, try to use show tracker.
That is pretty good.
Just right there.
That looks a lot simpler.
That's the table.
I'm so ready. I'm so ready for this reading.
But yeah.
It was so dry, it came off. It was so cold outside, by the way. Oh, I know.
trying to figure out the database for you, so you need to figure out what your database is. So let me show how to do that. I'll come around and debug some of these. Like we'll probably, I think for you, it's just your database name, and we need to figure that out. There is on one of my blogs, there's the command for finding the database, but I forget it wasn't working when I did there, so I have something wrong there. All right, are we ready for the next? I'm going to wipe this line because we've already done that. Although we could actually leave it. So shows dot find. I probably should have left it the way it was. Oh, well, I can do that because I just want to add something to it. So right here, I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to put a comma. I'm going to put another curly brace. And I'm going to do single quote artist, whoops, dot name, close the quote. I wish I could do this. This is way too big. Artist dot name, colon 1, comma, artist dot genre, and that should be quoted. I think actually, well, what?
Mine's not working.
Yeah, give me a minute. Colon 1. It's just that there's a lot of them probably aren't working.
Yeah, mine's not working.
And then I'm going to close. What is it not working? What, I mean, it's just frozen?
Mine is, I think I'm just confused. I'll ask for help later.
Yeah, I'll go over these again. So this is, I need to downsize this a little bit, I think. All right, so this is just like the last one. And then I'll come around here. So artist.genre colon alt rock. We had that before. Close that. And then this, what we're doing with this comma, and we do the next set, is what fields do you want to see? And we want to see artist.name and artist.genre. And for both of those, I put a 1. 1 is a Boolean. Yes, I want to see them. When this exists, if you don't list it explicitly, it won't show it. With one exception, which if this works, you'll see. It will show the ID. So if I go to the end here and then I press enter, where am I? Syntax error, so where am I missing? Artist genre, alt rock.
Wait, should
Oh,
I-
artist genre should be quoted.
Artist name, I think yours should be plural, artist.
Yes. Good eyes. This is, so I want to go down a little bit just so I can handle this and then I'll put it back up. You're right, it should be artists. And it should be, this should be quoted. You guys have good eyes and you're probably more awake than I am. All right, so I'm going to go end. So this time it actually worked. So it showed alt rock. Actually, it showed alt too. Right? Whether alt or alt rock. You got alt and pop and alt rock and pop. Death Cab for Cutie and Billie Eilish are what we had for those. Were there any others? And they gave the ID of the object, which you can eliminate if you want. You need it zoomed up to see it again.
Yeah, how do you get that Zoom thing going? You kind of have your direction.
Well, the zoom, I will post all these, of course, too, but the zoom is just Windows magnified. So you don't need. The trouble is if I do the zoom, it's too big to see. So I did db shows.find artist.genre alt rock. Close that. Right, so you basically close that off, comma, artist name 1, comma, artist genre 1. So those are the only fields that are showed. If I wanted to eliminate the object ID, we could do that too. Again, I'm going to shrink that down while I type it, and then I'll zoom it to look at it. I know this is kind of hard to see. As I said, I will post all of these too. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. If you do the up arrow, it brings back whatever you did before. The only thing I'm going to do different is in here, I'm going to do a comma, and I'm going to do underscore ID colon 0. And the difference is that now it won't show the ID. So if I zoom up, but I'll have to walk through it. So it's db shows find artist genre colon alt rock curly braces artist name colon 1 comma artist genre 1 comma and then ID, and there's a comma there, and then underscore ID colon 0. And it should show me just the artist names and their genre, and not the ID. And I'll zoom it in a moment. I just can't see what I'm doing when I'm zooming. So notice no ID this time. I'm surprised it got alt as well as alt rock, actually. Did we have other alt rocks? Were there people that were missed? I don't know. So let me come around a little bit. I kind of want to real quickly go. So we've kind of done choose a genre, what artists are considered to be in that genre. We've done one thing. I want to real quickly go to, that's not what I want. I want Conger Prep Blog Spot. Go already. And I want to do Mongo new first steps with NoSQL. So this is get indexes, so we don't need that. DB admin command list databases 1. That's how you get the databases if you need to see your database. DB admin command list databases 1. It'll list all your databases. So if you don't remember what you named your database, I will actually copy this and I'll run it just to show you what databases I have. So I have an admin database, a config, a local, product reviews, products, show tracker, and test. I have a lot of databases. Everybody would have admin, config, and local. The others are stuff I made. Does it give you what you have for databases?
No, what is it called, this databases?
So it's EB admin command. This database is :1. So you have to do a colon. And if you can't do that, put in inside of that do :1. And that's that. Databases should have a capital D. Pretty sure. Yeah, put whatever. So if I do that again, so it is your admin command, is the C capitalized?
No.
It needs to be. That's actually the problem. Admin command, C capitalized, yeah. And then I'll get over there.
When you do it,
Oh, so it should be in the same. Right.
So if I'm down here, it doesn't need to have its own.
That's right. Doesn't get it out.
How do you know?
So how I know is that I spent some time with him on the documentation.
So you mean, okay.
Yeah, I didn't get rid of it. You need to comment if you document.
So how come, oh, how come we need the competency right here?
So this is the search criteria. This is the list of columns. So they're different. This is different.
This is the search criteria, and then each of the columns.
That you want to actually see. Right, so if you get the, if you didn't include this, like we did the first one, you get the entire show.
Okay.
You'll still get only the shows that have all rock in them, but you'll get the entire show.
But under alt rock, we only want.
We only want to see, yeah, the sequence.
Okay. So,
That should work.
No.
Project not having mix of inclusion ID solution. Oh, ID should have an underscore. Yeah, because the adult ID has a, by default, ID has a. All right, let me look. We still have congregate this. Oh, you did have data, you doesn't have a database.
no, we have to do TV.
Huh. So let's do use show. All right, and then do shows, maybe that shows
Did you end it? Is that one of our questions? I just wanted to now pull up someone who didn't read.
Is that what I'll find where the error is. I want to do a couple more, but I want to see if I can help with the. I kind of want to walk through all these prayers.
Yes, yeah, that, yeah. I'm like.
So, show tracker may not be. So let's do. Let's do. So.
After light round, there's a
So you get that. We haven't played around with it or something, but you can't.
that is.
I'll try to go to the campus. Yeah.
It's
She
just
was
like
really kind of angry. Yeah.
Right. But then, that's why I'm not trying not to be so hard on myself, like, as I'm frustrated.
Yeah. What about the ICP? Well, we just completely.
Yeah, it means it doesn't sleep.
I do it. Yeah, she's thinking on that was one of the. Or maybe.
You can try it. Let me finish these, then what we'll do is we'll trim it in back.
Whoa, yeah.
So, would you?
As long as you're.
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't want them.
So I will post, oops. Everything is.
Yeah. Everything. Yeah, I still remember. What did you do? What did you guys do? Oh, it's a lot of journey. Did you? Was it cold over there? Was there snow? No. Just snow on the road. Yeah. Yeah, look, this is the enterprise meeting, to manageable.
Did these ever get fully?
You guys were there, be able to get in the shop.
Alright, so that's why we're not doing.
fine.
I will come back. I will help insert. I'll help get all these things fixed up. Let's finish the questions though, and then I'll debug, because otherwise it's going to take until the end of finals week. So I will post all of these commands too, and I'll post my database. So if all else fails, you can run through my stuff. So don't panic. I know this stuff is a bit weird and it's a bit hard, and but it's actually kind of fun when you get it working. All right, so we did the databases. We did so far. The only thing we found is the artists that have alt rock. So if we wanted to, the second part of that, which was what artists are considered, so what fans follow those artists. So let's look at for fans. So I'm going to, I don't want to get that zoom out of there for a moment. So if I do DB fans, and in fans, let's just do find real quickly, just so I remember what's in fans. All right, so I have, and if we want, we can do it as pretty. So we have some fans. There's a few fans that follow Death Cab for Cutie. And there's at least one for Billie Eilish. So I am going to, if I remember, let's do db fans.find. And I am going to real quickly go to files here, because I just need to remember the syntax. Here's another thing. There's a show tracker JSON text here, which you can kind of follow. What I really want from it is this. So this is a way that you could list which artists that they're finding. So this is an OR. And that's mostly what I needed to look at. So I want to, within the find, and I'll make this big in just a second, I'm going to do a curly brace $sign, and this is why you can't use $signs. $signs are used to identify functions in Mongo. So $sign or colon square bracket, and then what I will do is we'll do so fans have artists, so I'm going to do artists, and that should have quotes, single or double, doesn't matter, and we'll look for Billie Eilish. Is that who we wanted? Well, let's do Death Cab for Cutie. We wanted alt rock, right? And then I'm going to do a comma. Well, close the curly brace. So actually, artists should have a curly brace at the beginning. This stuff is painful because it's pure programming stuff, right? It's not, oops. Have to figure out where your cursor is. And then I'm going to do another artist, and we'll do Billie Eilish because she was also in there. I'm not at all sure I've spelled her name anything like reality. What was it? How is it spelled up above? I'm sure that's wrong. Isle she. I'm going to change that just because I spelled it so badly up there. That's a problem with this stuff, you know. And then I'm just going to end the square bracket, and I'm going to end the curly brace for the beginning, the or. And I'm going to end the parentheses. And it did do that. Let's do dot pretty. Well, actually, let's just run it again. And then do dot pretty. So it shows me the fans. I've only got one fan that had both of them. Although it should do for either. Maybe there was only one fan that had it. So it gives me the super fan has Death Cab for Cutie and Billie Eilish.
For me, it shows all the fans, like, because it's all right. So if it says one or the other,
Yeah, so it's or. So does anybody else have one of those other ones? I mean, we could add a fan that has somebody else if you want to see. So maybe add a fan that has Death Cab for Cutie, but not. Let's look at what we have for fans. And then we can run that again, but find. So I think Death Cab for Cutie and Billie Eilish are only in that one fan. So let's insert another fan. So DB fans insert. And we'll just curly brace. I'll bring this up. Fan name. Let's put that in quotes. Colon. Anybody have a good fan name? George. All right. Email. Again, I should probably quote it. It'll work usually without quote. Go ahead.
I think mine is under username.
That could be. Yeah, whatever you did. All right, so I did that. And then I'm going to do artists. I'm only going to put one artist. So curly brace, and it'll be Death Cab for Cutie. And I want to type it the same. And I'm only going to do the one artist. And I'm not going to list any genres for this one. So if I close that, oh, what am I missing? I screwed that up. So I'm going to do it again. Before the parentheses, I need to do another curly brace. And then a paren. Nope. What am I missing? Fan name, George. Email, Georgia.
Well, artist not called.
Artist is closed.
Sorry, not close.
Oh, it shouldn't be in quote. Well, it doesn't,
You have a curly brace and artist, you need another curly brace.
right, well, so what is it? This is just I don't need a curly brace here because I've only got one artist. Does that make sense? And it was a square bracket, not a curly brace. That's because it was just an array. I told you I'm tired. It was just making all this more confusing, I know. So that inserted one. Now, if we go back to all right, there's find fans. So this is, I just kept pushing the up arrow till I got back to the command I wanted. This is the query, yeah.
Is there a reason why the fans don't, you have to enter in all the data first? Like,
If there's no fan, if you've never entered any fans, it's not going to return anything. Is
well,
that
just inserted all of it. With ed.fan.insert,
right?
put it all in, but every time I do ed.fans.find, nothing.
It should be there. When your inserts,
Actually,
that's because there's no-
actually, Nathan went to the progress. I'm being super lazy. I'm trying to use it.
So doing DB
Basically,
fans,
it's going on.
Yeah.
actually, so that's,
I was doing the wrong command. I made this view database drive and then run the collection. So actually, yeah, or whatever. Yeah, so you don't need to
well, we did
use
that.
the
This is DB fans.
maybe.
Now, do you have any?
And then we can do.
Then you.
This is kind
Right,
of
but
cool.
you shouldn't do a separate file.
Like show
Yeah, it should just be,
databases. You want to see what you. And you can do.
no. If you use it, a whole new database, you don't want it. Yeah,
That makes sense.
I mean, it should all be.
But I don't think it shows this if we don't add any data. So like if you say use show tracker, but you don't add any data,
But you
it'll
can't
just show
copy it.
local complete.
Oh,
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, you can't copy it.
See, this is like.
Let's insert the thing.
Yeah.
all of it.
Right, so let's say where you are.
Yeah, like they were.
Yeah, so that's just. So
So.
if you do use,
Yeah, it's.
so you're in there. Let's just do, it shows.
That one worked. I think not.
Did you do a? Yeah, I'm wondering if those. Just do it. Get rid of that. So then the DB fans insert. Copy the fans. From, so a couple of things, you need a square bracket at the start. If you're going to insert more than that, that's great. No, you need both. And you need a comment for that. And then square bracket after the bracket. And then copy all of that. No. And then, and now we do this. So now we do
But I mean, I tried to sort in so much.
So it might be the same thing. You need the square brackets, comma between and square brackets.
So busy.
Might have to read.
It's just like, I'm just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it's
Pretty minimal anyways now. It's just like,
The assignment is super.
yeah.
right. So
I was like, I guess if you didn't already know how to do it, it would be confusing, but I use Bootstrap to lay out the rows.
Yeah, she's much bootstrap in class.
It's really nice. Have you ever tried it?
copies are great. What I found sometimes it doesn't work and then
Oh,
it
you
does.
go?
Yeah.
It's like awesome, but it's.
I, that's the one they don't work on. There is the first time. That's
Yeah. Right. One thing you can't do that. No, there's no information. Yeah, let me come back, because it'll take a minute. Let me try to get the last couple of questions and then I will, come and we'll debug as to our heart's content here. So it should have two users now, but I only got the one again. I don't see the other artist. I wonder why. It inserted it. I'm not sure why I didn't find. The or should give us either or. All right. I will look at that later because nothing's going quite right today. Let's look at the other questions. And then I will, as I said, I will post what I've got. Worst case scenario, if you guys just all else fails, this works. I don't think it's the best design, but you can make, if you highlight all of this, just do insert into venue and highlight all of this. I mean, insert DB venues, insert, you know, these will go in. And then there are these questions down below. All of that works. It's just not, when I was thinking about it, not necessarily the best thing. I'll show you in a moment how this works. It won't work, by the way, if you paste it from here. You have to download the file. Partially because there are characters in this that are not. We'll do that in a minute, but let's continue with what we've got for just a minute, and we'll see if we can. I did not expect it to have quite so many errors today. So we look to see what fans follow those artists. You can probably figure out how shows follow the artist, right? Do you have an idea? Is any of this making sense? So if I make it big again, All right, so we want to know which shows have those artists. We kind of did that, but let's do db.shows.find. I'm going to do a curly brace. I'm going to do, we could just do one thing if you want. I will do the $ or again. Colon. I'm going to break it down here, curly brace. So what we want is for show, we want the criteria to be artist.name, colon, Death Cab for Cutie, close the curly brace, comma, curly brace, artist name. There should be like 2 of these actually. Billie Eilish, which I'm going to go with my horrible misspelling again. Curly brace. I'm going to do a comma and say I only want to see the show names. So I'm going to say, what is on the show, what is the field name? Is it show name? Or it's just name, isn't it?
Yes.
So, and then I'll do a comma and I'll do quotes _ID, that's not an underscore, _ID, :0, which that could go on another line. And then we need to close, whoa. All right, let's go back. What I needed to do is close the curly brace, close this. Still doesn't like something. What is it doesn't like? When I did these before, everything worked. I'm just having trouble typing. So, or, colon, artist name, Death Cab for Cutie. That should work. Or, oh, you know what? I see the error. Well, I forgot the quote in front of artist name. Still an error. What is it now? Oh, you know what? I know why. So I need to close the or. And then get rid of one at the end. Yeah. I'm trying to be too fancy. Let's just get rid of the limiting the fields. Why is that not working? That should work. Anybody see what I'm doing wrong?
There is a commonly seen before artists that name Billie Eilish. The artist's name.
Right.
You need that refracted thing.
Yes. Good eye. And in fact, that would let me do the other thing. So I'm going to do square bracket here. That should work. I'm not going to try to limit the fields right now. I will play with that later. There it goes. And then if we want, we could do pretty. As I said, I will post these. I'm also going to go over the other things real quickly. So there are two of them. They're both Deck the Hall, right? Deck the Hall ball. Actually, and because they both have the same name, they're probably... So it has the information for the thing that has both of those artists. And it's interesting that it finds Eilish here when it's spelled. Oh, I did spell it right there. Okay. And it may be because the other one was spelled so badly that it's not finding that one. Last question, and then what I'll do is I'll copy these, but I'll go through the other one just to show you how you can do that real quickly. And I'll come debug. It may take a couple of days to debug this, but how are you guys doing? You're not too frustrated yet? Okay. As I said, this could be fun when you get the hang of it, but it's hard to get the hang of it. And I am, for whatever reason, sleep deprivation or something, I am not typing very well today. And every comma, every missing quote, every little tiny thing makes it fail, right? It has to have everything. So, as I said, I will post this. One of the things about this is that the whole script is there. So I can copy and paste the ones that worked out of here. So the last question, I think. So we did the shows. Was that the last question? Oh, the shows for a particular venue. That's actually pretty easy, comparatively. So I'll make this big. So we want to do DB shows find, and really we just want to find a particular venue. So it's like venue.name. Is that how we did it for the show? So yeah, it's venue.name. Colon, where do we want it to be? I saw WAMU, but we also did, you guys, we had, what was the other one we had first? I'm trying to remember the other venue.
Was it Chiarina? That's the whole. Oh, Paramount.
We had Paramount. We did have, was it Chiarina? No, Chiarina's closed. I think it's at WAMU.
We had one.
Theater.
All right. So if I close that, This should give us all of the shows at WAMU Theater. So I have Deck the Hall down here twice, which is because I accidentally entered it, but it did work. It gave it to me. It gave me all the ones at WAMU Theater, which was Deck the Hall, and I had it in there twice. You might only have one. So this was dbshows.find venue name. All you have to do is list the venue, and it would list all the shows, right? So if you give the name of the venue, if I were to do the same query down here, but do it with, I think we had Paramount for one, right? I may have, you may not have. So I put Bob Dylan in at Paramount. And so there's one show at the Paramount. So this is an easier query than the others were before. So I will pull out the ones that work here, but I'm also going to show you how to do that other one if you really just want to go through it. I'm going to unzoom so I can get through those. So we did fans.
Right after.
So I'm pasting the entire script into Notepad, and I'll deal with it later. Okay, so I will paste those. I pasted it all into a Notepad so I could do it. Let's look at the run the other one just to show you, because if all of this is failing, you could, at some time I would suggest playing with it, but I'll also show you how to do this. So I am going to go to Files. And this is actually what we did in a class like a couple of quarters ago, this show tracker JSON. So we can run this. One of the things about it is that I think it's way too much like a relational database the way I set it up, because I think that the way we were trying to set it up in class is something that closer to what we did. I would not copy it from here because it tends to give errors. So I would click on Download. And then I would just maybe open it when you've downloaded it. So we've got the collections here. All right. And what we'll do is we'll just copy and paste them a bit. I might, if it's so big, I might just take this down a little bit. Format, font. I'm going to just a tiny hair down so I can copy it a little better. All right, so we can actually close out of the file thing here, because once you've downloaded it. Now, what I'm going to do in this one, I think, does clear work? Probably not. No. Does clear like that work? No. So never mind. I was hoping to get rid of a bunch of stuff. So I am going to use Show Tracker 2. And you guys should be able to follow on this one if you want. Need that zoomed? It's okay. So the reason we're going to just make it a separate show tracker, so you don't lose the show tracker or mess up the one that you've been working with. So I'm going to press enter, and it's switched to show tracker 2. So now I have a new database, show tracker 2. So I am going to do real quickly. We've got this new. Yeah, it's the other one. Show tracker JSON, this one. I thought, let me close these others. It's the untitled show tracker JSON is the one we want. Okay. And that one I want to close. I'll save what changes I made, but all right, so we have this one. So notice it has some collections. It has like a collection venue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say db venue dot insert. All right, so we're going to create a thing called venue. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy, actually get rid of the, before I copy, get rid of the parentheses because I included even that. And you go from the parentheses to the parentheses. Just copy that. And then if you paste here, you should be able to insert, and it says it inserted 4. So again, what I did is I switched to show tracker 2. I did db venue insert without the parentheses because my code has the parentheses in it. I copied it down from parentheses to parentheses. I did paste, and then I pressed enter. So did you guys get that? Did it work?
Not the bottom, that single word.
Yeah, that means it inserted if you did that. If you don't have that, it didn't insert. So press enter. Yours work okay? You can't have a space in show tracker. You show tracker 2, but no space. Yeah. There's a mechanism. Yeah. Yeah. Download it. It won't work if you do it from the. So just download it. If for whatever reason it doesn't work, you can copy it from the file. Did yours work?
Yeah, I tried to copy it, downloaded it.
Right, so you need to download it. Did you download it? You can copy it from. You copy. If you copy from here, it won't work. Yeah, you want to copy it. Who else had problems with that? Did it work okay for most of you? Then? Okay. So let's do the second part of that. If I go back here, is we have one for fans. So I'm going to do db fans dot insert. And actually, again, don't do the parentheses. Let me raise that up a little bit. So, and then I'm going to go from paren to paren. I'm going to copy it, and then I'll right click to paste and press enter, and it inserted 6 fans. Okay, you guys got it okay?
You've already got these. Venues. Venues are into. It's already copy. They do the same as that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's submitted, or are you gonna give us this credit because we did it?
I might have to say something just to make sure that I remember who is it.
Your full site.
Mine worked.
It did, okay.
You said we can use your code and stuff.
Yeah, you can use my code.
Yeah. So you've done venue. Did you do the venue first? Let's do the venue first. Okay. Well, you did anything, so let's take that venue and see. Let's do venue. Word venue. All right, got it. Now to do the same thing.
All right, so let's do the next one. And then what we'll do is we'll do the queries that are here too. So this one is shows. As I said, I think I was too relational with this, but shows dot insert. And I, again, from parentheses to parentheses. And it should insert 4. And then I'm going to do db.artist.insert. And so I've inserted all the records that were there. So I did the artist, I did
Why is it not working? Oh, 'cause you're not- So let's do trans start insert. And don't put a parentheses, just put that has it, it's not as potential. There we go. We're gonna do the same with shows and the same with artists. Is it working for you guys?
So then we'll do some queries. We'll run the queries real quick. And mostly what you can do is just like a screenshot of some of this. As I said, just turn something in so I know, because I know you're here. This stuff, as I said, is it's a big learning curve. Relational databases work too, but we spend a lot of time on this. This we're doing kind of fast. So down below here, I have the actual queries written for most of these. And they're similar to what we did, right? So if I want to find all of the fans that are following of Monsters and Men, who haven't put out an album in like 4 years, I think.
How come you cannot erase what you did? It's because I can, like, I inserted the show instead of the artist.
Yeah, so
Is it possible to just change the name artist to show?
it is, but I'd have to look up how. Just remember what is what.
Wait. Oh, but it erased everything.
You could probably just start a new database, make it Deep Show Tracker 3 or something.
My copy, it keeps giving me error.
I actually.
This one or everything?
Yeah, this one.
Let's see what it. What is the error?
Syntax error, and it doesn't make sense because the words are too fast.
So which one is it? Just for the
Just the insert.
that insert? Don't do a parentheses. That's probably the problem.
I didn't copy them.
Oh, you didn't copy the parentheses.
And then when I insert just the first one, it worked, but when I insert the second one, it wouldn't work. That one, I tried to do one at a time.
Okay. You're not pressing. So what is it not my?
There's no copy VT, right?
Yeah. It's like same thing she had there.
So db dot menu dot insert. And this is just my script. No, this is your own. Right?
And she made it look like hers, but she, yeah.
It looks weird to me.
She closed everything.
Okay.
How did you copy and paste it from?
Yeah.
I just don't know. Did you download it or copy it? So it has, the reason why I said to download it, it has illegal characters in it. Because of the way it stores things,
Throw it back into make quarters with it.
so if you do that, it should work.
You're all done.
Yeah.
Let me know if it works. And then we'll run the queries.
Yeah, it's kind of hokey, but like, yeah.
I see what he said.
Oh, mine did that too. It eventually does. Yeah.
I mean, I really like the, you know, simple. I like the consistency.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think I like this because it is.
Okay.
Consistency.
All right, so what I did is I ran this one query, the first one, dbs fans.find of artists and men. Again, if you wanted to do that again with .pretty, you could. Again, pretty is only makes it just more readable, but it also takes up a lot more screen, right? So these are the fans that have of Monsters and Men in their list. So what I did is I ran DB fans find artists and men. If you look at this, it's just I ran that. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, but this time it will only return the name and the email, and it'll return the ID because we have the second one cancels that out. Again, when you do the find and you list artists of Monsters and Men, And then we say we want to see the name and we want to see the email instead of everything. So I'm going to highlight that. And again, the nice thing about this is what's in here is you can just paste it and you can run it. And it shows you, gives you the name and the email, but it also has their key, because that always shows up unless you explicitly deny it.
Is that the only thing that always shows up?
Yeah, it always shows up unless you explicitly deny it, but always, yeah, no matter what fields you specify. Yeah.
Reasons it wouldn't be able to insert the show factor.
So, where do you copy it from? So you have that. Insert, DB, insert. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
I did that at 300. What if you do?
I don't know, I'm not even sure.
Yes, easier to copy into that.
I did after. So.
You to go show Joshua Kyle.
Well, I don't know, what did you take? Yeah,
Where did he go?
the
So where?
that is should be used. Should be used show tracker. And it was 2. And then if we do DB that values, find. So DB that values, insert. Okay, so that insert. And then DB band stuff. Yeah, but it's not. Is yours not working either? Okay. Yeah. Oh, with a display like that can be, so mine is the second one. Yeah, this is the right side. So the second one limits it just to the name and email and the key. If we go back, this one will take the ID out of it. So again, if you just, it just gives you, now you just have their name and email. Okay. And then I have one where we want to show the artists or the shows that have of Monsters and Men. Did I not copy that? I think I just highlighted it. And if you want, you can do dot pretty, and it'll show you the shows. So there's one show that has of Monsters and Men at the Paramount. So generally, now this is just a comment, so that won't do. But we want to find all of the artists that have the genre alternative. Now, if you named your anything a little bit different, you might have to adjust, right? If you, particularly your venues. So, but if you did it as artists, just going to copy, paste, and we'll see that these are all artists that have alternative in their genres, which I think is almost all my artists had alternative in it. And in the last, okay, so this one is the same thing. This is to find the fans that are looking for alternative. And it's just going to return their name and email. So these are fans that are looking for alternative. And then the very last one there is to show all the shows for all the alternative artists, right? So it has Or, and it has Monsters and Men, Death Cab for Cutie, Pearl Jam, Daughter, Metro. Those are all the artists that are labeled as alternative. And I'll paste, and with luck, so it'll show, actually let's do it again, go with dot pretty. So there are two shows. There's one with Monsters and Men, and there's one with Pearl Jam. So if what we did earlier was too chaotic, there's this with the questions pre-built for you, which you can use. They don't answer exactly what the ones were in the thing, but pretty close. And again, I would encourage you to play with it. The logic is not hard once you get the hang of it. It's just painful to type in all those quotes. And
It just works sometimes.
yeah, it doesn't work. Even when I do it, as you could tell when I started off, it doesn't work most of the time. It takes me several times to debug it. I always, at the command line, I tend to have typos, and typos at the command line just don't work. So the thing is, you can basically just do this script if nothing else is working for you. So don't type in collection venue. That's the thing is, this is the only part you have to do. You have to do db.venue.insert. Right, so these things, basically, those are the only parts. The queries, except for the ones that are explaining what's going on, these can be typed in, just copied in directly if you want. I do think a lot of times it's easier to work with Notepad or brackets or something to set these things up, because it is really hard to correct them in the command line, as you saw me struggling with. Some days I'm better than others. But the command line today was not a good day. Yeah,
No.
artist insert, maybe copy that. Yeah. I'd like to, so it's not doing, I don't know, sometimes it doesn't. It's probably just nothing that you did. I've had other people have it on it. Or, I have no idea.
See, I don't know if we're gonna see how.
So Wednesday will be open lab to finish anything you want. Wednesday is the last official class, but I will be here during finals week and the labs will be open if you need to finish anything.
So what is one day
To turn things in.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say this, but probably Sunday or Monday after finals week. I'm not 100% sure when I have to turn in grades. It's usually like the Tuesday after the finals week. So they give you a few days to do your grading. So sooner would be better.
Okay.
But
Want to make sure this
yeah, through the weekend anyway, probably you can turn things in. That being said, probably next Friday, not this Friday, but the Friday after that, they'll come in here and wipe all the machines. Won't matter if you're on your laptop or something, but if you need these machines to work on, they tend to wipe them.
Clean for next semester.
Yeah, they totally wipe them and put new images on at the end of every semester. Or quarter.
It's okay if our queries aren't exactly the same as the assignment.
Yeah,
We can
it's
just use
it's
yours.
fine if your queries aren't exact. If you turn in these queries, that's fine. Now, again, something like a couple of screenshots of something like this will work. I'm not going to be too strict on this. I think if the NoSQL interests you, the advanced JavaScript class does some Mongo along with Node.js. What do they call it? There's a platform that's basically Mongo, Node.js, and a lot of JavaScript anyway. But it involves Mongo as well as other things. And again, the main thing I want you to get out of this is just that there are other kinds of databases and they are dramatically different than the relational database model. That's really about all I wanted to get out of there. In terms of the other stuff that's left, I don't think there is much that's left, but let's look at the assignments. The final can be done anytime. Do we even have a final?
There's only a quiz.
Just a
Yeah, so the quizzes are all there are. Some of the other classes I have an expanded quiz, which is a final, but they're not in this class. You just have the Mongo test queries. Yeah, so there's just these 3 quizzes, one for each section that we did. Questions on anything? So Wednesday, I'll let you guys work on stuff. You guys have been patient with some of my bumbling today, so thank you. I have that video, but I'm not sure if it's worth saving. Okay. You might want to go to the end when things are working. Let me do. Well, the other thing, so let me go down there. Let me stop it.